But until you take action, nothing changes.
You're listening to the Johny Pach Show, where I connect you to the most influential, masterful minds of this generation. We're gaining insight into their lives, their achievements, and the stories along the way. Stick around if you too are determined to succeed. Okay, guys, now it's a great pleasure to introduce a man that has made his own life a living experiment for the past 30 years in an effort to truly understand what life is all about and what success really is. The 30 years have been filled with colourful highs and dark lows, rags to riches, world travel and romance, educated, trained and mentored by the world's leading authorities of success with Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, Joe Dispenza and my favourite Jack Canfield. Please offer a big warm welcome to my friend, Paul Becque, everybody.
Woohoo! Thank you very much, Johnny. My ego has expanded 100 times already.
Yeah, absolutely. And so has your spiritual aura as well. That's quite a stunning intro you got there, Paul. I mean, I'm certainly going to tap into, your experience with Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, especially Jack Canfield. Tell me, how's everything going? How's isolation for you? How's business? How's the family?
I've been very fortunate. We have a very tight family unit. So the kids are safe, kids are at home, and we're all enjoying each other's company. We go out every day. The weather, as many of us will know, has been glorious. So whenever it's been great, we've been going out for walks. We live in the countryside. We're out on the bikes. So we're very, very fortunate. In fact, I got a great tan. You think I have been on holiday because I've been out gardening so much. So very, very fortunate. Overall, I feel very, very blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to what you just said there, why do you think so many of the listeners possibly procrastinate on change? Does it come with a big element of fear?
Oh, it's can be fear. It's not always fear. So what happens is that I like to talk about a failure cycle. And in fact, again, if you ever come to any of the workshops, if you're ever doing the work with me, retreats are a big one, then we have a complete system about the failure cycle, why people fail, why people procrastinate, why people can't get to go where they want to go. And yeah, sometimes that's fear, but it's really easy to identify that. And if you can start to identify why you're failing, if you can start to identify that you're going back to your old habits, the sooner you can identify that, the sooner you can stop yourself. We have a whole system that helps people to achieve that. So basically, you decide you're wherever you are and you want to change. So you get very excited about that change, but you don't consistently work toward it. So in my programs, there is something you have to do every day because it's not enough to do it every week. It's not enough to do it once a month. It's not enough to think about it now and again. You need to commit to it. And once you've committed, then you've got the opportunity to start seeing those little signs that let you know you're going in the wrong direction. So really, this is all about choices. Every day, everything we do is a choice. And what I want you to be doing is making a choice that takes you towards your goals and not away from them. But unless you can start to identify those telltale signs, then you're going to find that you're actually moving away. And sometimes people don't even realize that. And they say, oh, this stuff doesn't work. Well, actually, if we do some analysis and we can look through the actions that you've taken over the past week, we can see why you haven't made any progress or why you've ended up where you always end up. So all of these things can be changed, but the procrastination kicks in because it's all a big part of life and lots of people do it. Fear can be a part of that. It can be a lot of programming from childhood. It can be things that people have said to you from your teachers right through to work colleagues. And so you just don't want to move into it. It's a lot easier to stay in your comfort zone and do what you already know. But what we want is for people to move out of that comfort zone. We want people to move into the learning zone and then from there push them into the growth zone. So I'll give you some examples. If you're in the fear zone, but I did recently like a mind map is a term some people use about COVID-19. So let me share some of those ideas with you.
Yeah.
When you're in the fear zone, you'll know people went out and they bought all sorts of stuff. They were buying like crazy food, toilet paper, medication, the antibacterial gel. People were complaining left, right and centre, and they were getting mad easily. We could see it sort of on the news, and the news just amplifies it and makes everyone think, oh my goodness, I've got to go out and do the same or I'm not going to get food.
Yes.
But what you really wanted to be doing is try to get yourself into a place where you start to take control, that you stop doing things. So first of all, you could stop compulsively consuming things like the news, like food that you don't really need.
Like
Amazon. What's that?
Like Amazon, everybody's buying everything and they don't even need it around their house. It just causing such clutter.
I believe he's going to become the world's first trillionaire. So it's been great.
Yeah.
He's doing great out of that. Jeff Bezos is thriving, but it's been a very useful tool, and it's helped a lot of people if they can't leave home. So I applaud him. Well done. And he's got everything in place to deal with that amount of work. So it was like he was prepared for that when it eventually came, and when the storm came, he was there. So well done to him. But you need to become aware of the situation, start to think about the way you act rather than just following your emotions. Evaluate the information that comes along, recognize what's going on, and then do your best. And ultimately, once you can get through that stage, and it takes different people different amounts of time to learn these tricks and tips and strategies, but then you can start to think about how you can help other people. So, for example, I put notes through all my neighbours' doors offering to go and do their shopping for them, gave them a phone number. If they had a medical problem and they were concerned, then they could call me. Or if there's someone at their door they didn't know and they were worried, they could call and at least get some help. Because lots of people were stuck at home and their family could be hundreds of miles away. So it was a frightening time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I try to make my skills, my talents available. I've had more calls now for people that are stressed out or worried about their jobs, wanting coaching and how to deal with the current circumstances. So if you can, you want to live in the present and be as happy as you can with what's around you. Focus on the future because things will get better. I was very thankful and appreciative throughout the past few months. I try to stay happy emotionally, spread as much hope as you can. And then you're like this, practice quietude, being on your own, closing your eyes, taking 20 minutes in the morning just to be grateful for everything you've got and see that things will get better. Be grateful for the day before. There's so many things that you can be grateful for. Keep yourself in that happy, emotional state. Be patient with friends and family that might be calling up and saying things that you can tell the panic in their voice and they're concerned.
Yeah.
Just try to keep them calm. And then look for a way to adapt to the changes, what you need to do to make sure that you can work well in this environment. So there's lots, these are all strategies. This is all about mind mastery. And basically, the simplest way to explain that is you start to think above the crowd. That's really what I help people to do, is to start to think about the crowd. Don't get drawn away in it. Don't get sucked into it all.
Yes.
Think, what's the smartest thing to do here? My goal is to get through this lockdown as well as I can. I could take this opportunity now to get some DIY done. I could take the opportunity to get some gardening done. Maybe you can fix your car. Maybe you can fix the bathroom. Maybe you get a chance to spend more time with your children. Maybe you can learn to homeschool. There's so much. Maybe you could even sign up for a course. If you were furloughed and you couldn't even work, you might suddenly have 8 hours a day on your hands. That's 8 hours a day for self-improvement. And I don't necessarily mean spiritually or becoming a better person, but you could get yourself books on mechanics or law or whatever it is that you would love to do. What was your passion? You've just had, maybe 12 weeks now that we've been in lockdown. 12 weeks, 3 months where you could have literally changed your life. That's the beauty of it. This was a really unusual circumstance, but of course it's great. One of my clients recently telling me that because she's working from home, she's not going to work, working from home, that's an hour and a half each way to work. She's got 3 hours back a day, 5 days a week, 15 hours a week back in her pocket. And it's changed her life dramatically. But of course, she's on the program. She's doing things every day, and she's been able to amplify all of her successes and make them even more successful. So the program I teach, if you go on the years course, and my plan is to give you your best 12 months ever, generally you find in those first 90 days, people achieve more in those 90 days, those first 90 days, than they do in 5 years. I often have people call me up saying, I can't believe how much I've done. Sometimes in the first month, they've done more than they did in the last year. So 3 months of lockdown on a program like this can be life-changing.
Wow. Let's talk about that a little bit further down into the podcast, because I really want to know all about that where the listeners can find it and, some hidden tidbits of what you actually offer within the program. And just going back to what you mentioned there, gratitude is such a powerful energy in itself. One thing that you mentioned earlier is that our heart has, in a way, its own brain. And there's one thing that I do every morning is the Tony Robbins primal meditation. Have you done that, Paul? Did you ever attend Tony Robbins UPW event?
No, I haven't done the course, but I do think it's a great way to go. It's a great start to your day. Yeah. Tony Robbins is an absolute phenomenon in what he does. But again, what you'll find is the more that you read, ultimately, one of the first steps I teach people is that you need to evolve your own life, evolve your own brain, evolve your own mindset. So you need to evolve. And one of the reasons that I believe there are so many books out there for self-empowerment, self-help, personal development, they're all the same thing. Ultimately, the more you read, the more you'll come to the conclusion that they're all teaching the same thing.
Right.
And then you come full circle and go, maybe I've got 500 books right now here in my library. And you're like, how can you have so many books? And it's taken me years to read because I spent 30 years doing this, reading, studying. And I really did make my own life, as you said at the intro, I made my own life a living personal development experiment. So I've tried all of these things and I've had successes. And some of Tony Robbins' teachings, they helped me make my first million by the time I was 26. So I've had some great successes, but since then I've been broke 3 times. So you've got to get that mindset, that attitude, that understanding of how to use money correctly. I come from a working class background, so even though I made money, I knew how to spend it. I knew how to lose it very quickly as well. So you do need to evolve. And the important thing is that all of these books, I think you'll find that the vast majority of them are all teaching the same sort of thing, but they're trying to get you there in different ways. And that's because we are all different. So some people might have been brought up in a religious context. And so some books that will quote the Bible might really resonate with them. But if you've come from a different background, maybe your parents were agnostic, perhaps you consider yourself to be more spiritual, then you might gravitate to other types of books. So what you find is all of these books have great content, but at different times in your life, they might have more appeal to you. And ultimately, you need to work your way through all of this. This really is an evolution of you, and you need to find all the information, all the gold nuggets you can, so that you grow and you grow and you grow and you grow and you grow. And ultimately, our entire lifetime is all about growing. This is all like a lesson in how you can become the best person you can be. I always like to think of it as a bit of a game. You come here, you're going to die.
Yes.
You're going to. So it always surprised me. I don't want it to come across as heartless, but people when they get to their 70s, their 80s, their 90s, we can expect death. And I know you're going to miss them. And I know it's heartbreaking when somebody goes, but it's only heartbreaking if you have no understanding or no belief in what happens next. So if you believe that when you're dead, that's pretty hard. It's like looking down a dark tunnel. But if you know that there's light at the end of that tunnel, you should be celebrating their life and the great time that they had here and the fun that perhaps they've had here. And that's certainly how I try to lead my life. But when I pop my clogs, I want everyone to be wearing Hawaiian shirts, and I want there to be a big party afterwards, no matter what happens, no matter how I go, whether it's a good ending or a bad ending, whether it's tragedy, a plane crashed, or whether I got run over by a car or something awful happened. I still want everyone just to celebrate, because I've had a great time here so far, and I certainly plan for the next, let's say another 40, maybe even 50 years to be just as much fun. So again, that's a mindset. You've just got to enjoy every day, because you never know when that last day might come along.
Absolutely love that, Paul. Thanks so much for that. That was really, that's really hard hitting, to be fair. And you're absolutely right. Everybody just needs to completely focus, detract themselves from all of the negative crap that's going on, and just enjoy your life for a minute and just take a step back and enjoy your life. And I want to, you mentioned books, and I obviously want to talk about a book that really got myself on my spiritual path, and that is The Secret. And I know that you're a big fan of it yourself. For the listeners back home that haven't read the book just yet, could you give us a brief synopsis on the book itself?
Okay, well, a couple of things first. First, I'm more of a fan of the video than the book. I think a lot of people struggle to read the book. And if that's new to you, then I think it's really good to watch the movie, watch the film. And it isn't a film, it's more of a documentary. And you get to meet lots and lots and lots of great mindset people, lots of scientists, which is another reason I really liked it. Yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff about The Secret. But there's also, I think, a lot of negative sides to it too, which I'll give you a balanced feeling towards the book. So ultimately, it's all about the law of attraction. And this isn't a new idea. This is an idea that's been around at least 100 years. And one of the things that I did love about the movie is because Rhonda Byrne, who put the film together, she's a TV producer anyway, and then she made the movie. She was having a difficult time with her own life. She was given a book that was 100 years old, and that made her think, why don't people know this information? And hence she made the movie. Yes. But watching the movie, you'll get to meet so many people that are living today and believe in this. And lots of those people are scientists. So I'm really a big fan. I'm not so ethereal. I don't like the wishy-washy magical stuff. What's the power of positive thinking? Yeah. There absolutely, categorically is success in positive thinking. But if people are just hoping and dreaming about a success, it's not going to work for them. And it's the same with the law of attraction. I think a lot of people hear about it and feel, oh, this sounds great. This is going to be easy. And Rhonda constantly says to you, ask, believe, and receive. Yes. So it's easy to ask for a successful life, ask for a bigger house, ask for a bigger car, ask for all the things that you want in life. And a lot of people will tell themselves they believe that they can have it. And if they believe that they can have it, then they should be receiving it, right? And they never did. Yeah. So ultimately, the whole movie kind of backfired. And I think a lot of people were saying, this stuff's BS. And so then they hated it, and it turned them away from personal development. And so I'm a big fan of not so much being ethereal. And don't get me wrong, I'm very, very spiritual. And in fact, the more I read personal development, the more I work on my own life, the more I realize the world is more spiritual than I ever believed 10, 15, 20 years ago. So it's all come around full circle. But the beauty of it is it will introduce you to a lot of phenomenal people. I was very fortunate that I went down lots of those roads, and I got in touch with a lot of those authors and scientists. And even just 2-3 weeks ago, I was getting emails from some of the guys in there. But the big one for me was Jack Canfield.
Tell me.
And I reached out to Jack, told him my own story, and he said, hey, why don't you do some training with me? So I spent a year training with Jack, and it was epic.
Wow.
In fact, I first thing that I did after watching that movie, I went out and bought his book, The Law of Attraction. And so, sorry, not The Law of Attraction. And I anyone buy this. It's The Success Principles. Yeah, so that was written around 2005. Yeah. But this is the importance. This is so, so important. 2005, I read that book and I got all pumped up. I got motivated and nothing changed. And that's because I did nothing. Yeah. So 5 years later, when I was in pain because my life wasn't where I wanted it to be, and I realized that, don't get me wrong, I was living a pretty good life, but I'm very goal orientated, and I want more and I want more and I want more. And I believe we're all here to create the life of our dreams. So I was having a good life, but I was nowhere near where I wanted to be. So I went back to the book, and it was then when I read the book that I got excited, and I decided that I wanted to do a blog. So I did my very first blog back in 2010, 5 years later. Now, because I did a blog, and within a very short time, probably had about 2,500 people following me.
Oh, man.
And following me, that suddenly made me accountable to them. And I was sharing one of the principles each week. And then I went into Bob Proctor's work, The Success Puzzle, and that became a part of it. And then I came back to the Success Principles. But ultimately, it was a 2-year project because Jack says in the front of his book, follow these principles and you can double your income and double your time off. So I started sharing them. And because I was being held accountable by my viewers, they wanted to know what was I doing. Right. I was taking action. And so within the next 2 years, I doubled my income, but I tripled my time off.
Okay.
And that's when I first started, would have been absolutely impossible. Right. So, stuff does work. And when that happened, then I'm like, oh my God, I got to start telling people about this. I've got to start, this stuff works. To do that again, double my income and double my time off again. And you're like, well, how can you do that? This stuff. And so I decided to study it with Jack. And I spent a year studying with Jack and became a certified trainer. And just my life's just gone better and better and better and better. But of course, it's all about taking action. And so what Jack encouraged me to do was to go inside and develop my own program. He said, I don't want you to become a mini Jack Canfield, work out this for yourself. So ultimately, I wanted to share this with my kids. And so I put together a program that would help my kids understand it so they don't have to wait until they're 30, 40, 50. I'm 55 now, but they don't have to wait until those later years in life to get this content, to get this information, to get this program, to get this system into their head. And so I put a 6-step program together that really helps people accelerate their lives. And then I started to share it I first started with like 3-hour workshops. Those became 6-hour workshops, became 8-hour workshops. I became 3-day retreats, became 12-month programs. So it's just expanded and expanded and expanded. And when you hear people, especially those first 90 days, they are so pumped up because they're seeing change in their life. And so the point of sharing this whole story with you is that some of these people will have bought book after book after book after book, just like I did. But until you take action, until you start to live the principles, the strategies, nothing changes. And that's why so many people say this stuff doesn't work. And I believe that the secret, which is the original question, forced or got a lot of people to say this stuff doesn't work, because ask, believe, and receive is just too darn simple. Yeah. You're not going to believe it. You want to believe it, but you won't believe it until you've got your mind in the right place and you understand how it all works and what's going on. You've got to find yourself in that believability area. Otherwise, it's a certain amount of faith, and that faith doesn't come. You're just being hopeful. And there's a big difference between hope and faith. There's a big difference between hope and belief. Yeah. So I loved the movie because it changed my life. It got my journey. It propelled my journey. It really reinvigorated my journey. I do think it's worth watching, and it really does. In fact, I know that her content is up to 100 years old, but as she shows, as Rhonda Byrne shows in the film, that can go back even further. And in fact, even today, I'm still searching for the content, the original content. And I think I found it probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago. It's called The Kabbalion. And that's from the ancient Egyptians. And she shows at one point, a pyramid, and there's a guy down deep in the pyramid, and he's working away on some scrolls, the Emerald Tablet. And I'm sure that a lot of that information is from the Kabbalion. And when you think that stuff could be, 5,000 BC, it's pretty exciting stuff. And today, science has proven a lot of these concepts to be absolutely true. But of course, science really is the new language of the mystics. And so if in the past, you've only thought it's airy-fairy stuff, I think that science is really making it a reality for so many people. They can really believe in it now because it's not mysticism, it's scientifically proven. How exciting is that?
Hi guys, Johny Pach here. I hope you are all loving the show right now. Just to jump in, if you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, and you're struggling to generate business and you're looking for the right marketing solution for you during these uncertain times, then my company, Next Generation, has the solution. I have just created a COVID-19 marketing action plan that you can download directly from my website, all the W's, .wearenxtgeneration.com. And if you're just looking for the right marketing solution, feel free to email me, Johny, Johny, at wearenxtgeneration.com. Now back to the show. Amazing. And I'm actually sitting here buzzing, just listening to your lovely voice. With that book, to access the law of attraction, that was really the catalyst of my whole spiritual journey. Paul, would you say there is a hidden energetic magic behind the law of attraction? Is it like a physical thing that we can bring into our life?
Well, again, I like to dip people in gently because lots of people, so when I start my programs, it's all science-based and it's all like goal setting and getting them to see the change in themselves. And that's really important because then they can start to see it. When they see their own successes, when they are sitting there going, this stuff works, then they trust you a bit more. And when they trust you a bit more, you can push them to the next level, and you can take them out of their comfort zone into that learning zone, into that growth zone. But I'll jump ahead, and I presume that as people are already gravitating to your podcast, that they're already understanding the aspects of the world and maybe a spiritual. So even I think lots of people use their own terminology. And again, I believe that religious context, even the Bible, you can really support that with modern science language. And so a term I like to talk about is the ether. So that's the space between you and I right now. I mean, think how magical this is. You're down in Surrey, I'm up in Rutland, so we're a few hundred miles apart, and yet it's like sitting there in front of me in the very same room. Yeah. And now people could be listening to us in Australia, the other side of the world, and literally it's the vibrations that are going out there into the ether, and they're coming out their other end, and the senses are picking up on that. So everything in the world is vibration. And again, that's all scientifically proven. For a long time, we thought, you look at a piece of plastic or a piece of metal or a piece of concrete and you think it's solid. But I think many people know now, and it's even taught in schools, that there's a molecular structure. And when you break that down, you move into smaller areas, your protons, and you can go even smaller. And now we're finding out that actually it goes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And there's a macroverse, not just the universe out there, but the macroverse inside there. And all of this is a field of energy. And all of this energy vibrates. So a rock is vibrating at a very, very low level. And so it appears to be solid. The telephone wires right now, or no wire, but the telephone vibration is vibrating at a very high rate. So we can't see it. It's beyond our senses, but we can hear it. And that's when you start to see the world as vibration, it can start to change everything for you. You need to read books on this to find out how you can connect to that, to find your own journey of making that a reality. And once you start to believe it, you can start to utilize it. Once you can utilize it, you can start to say this stuff works.
Wow, it's all quantum physics. I'm going to have to interview Tony Robbins to bring him on here. I was going to say, Paul, oh God, I lost my trail of thought now, because I was just so fascinated by what you mentioned just there. Look,
well, if you want to get into quantum physics, a couple of people I would suggest you talk to, Fred Alan Wolf, and I bet Fred will be happy to chat to you. He is a quantum physicist. Right. So he's the guy that was just writing to me again a few days ago. And he absolutely categorically lives this stuff. So again, this is a scientist. Joe Dispenza, I'm sure you've heard of Joe.
He's amazing, isn't he?
Yeah, broke his back and used his mind to fix it. They said he'd never walk again, and yet he fused his mind together. But Joe he's a chiropractor originally, and because he had that success, he's like, I've got to share this stuff. I've got to find out how it works. There's all these amazing people out there that are proving this stuff works. So again, this isn't just now. The Secret was a lovely book, and there's lots of information in there. But I believe a lot of people will come away from it going, "Yeah, I'm really excited about it," but they have no idea. The tools weren't really shared with us on how you can achieve that. A big one is visualization. So in the movie they talk about visualization. Guy sat in a chair and he can imagine driving his car. But again, there's a whole series of things that you need to do to really make that work. And just looking forward, looking to your future, is a great start in that. It's easy to look back. Apparently 90 to 95% of our thoughts, and we have anywhere between 60 and 80,000 of those a day, 90 to 95% of those are on what's happened to us in the past. And so that's why you keep reliving it. What you got to do is just turn your mindset to the future, where you're going, what you want. And even just constantly considering what you want to be rather than what you have been, that's going to help you get to where you want to be. So it's about looking forward. And that, even in that, just talking about right now, if I was to get you to tell me where you want to be in 5 years or in 10 years, you paint that picture in your head. That's visualization. And of course, you've got things like vision boards, and these stuff can really work. But I was at a friend's house recently, and on their fridge, they got a picture of a house. It's like 1.6 million. Yeah. I'm like, so what's the plan? How are you going to get that? And she's like, I don't know, but that's the one I want. Well, not knowing isn't great, is it? So there needs to be a plan in place if you can do that. And I'm not saying you know exactly how you're going to do it, but if you're on 40 grand a year, the chances are you're not going to be making enough to buy a 1.6 million pound house next year or in 2 years, maybe even in 5 years. And so the chances are that if you're on 40 grand a year, you haven't even got the mindset to own a property of that nature. So you might just be buying yourself lottery tickets, hoping that you might win. And I'm not saying that you won't win, you might. But again, there's so much more that you could do to ensure that you can get there. So, yeah, a big thumbs up for The Secret, but a big thumbs down as well.
No, I totally agree. And thank you very much for sharing that. And I wanted to ask you from my own personal experience, vision boards, I struggle with. I visualize a lot and I do that through meditation, which is, I think, the best practice. But vision boards itself, there isn't just a case of drawing a picture of an amazing home that you want to own and sticking it on the vision board and looking at it every day. Within the success principles, Jack really goes to detail on here's the house, here's the income that I'm going to generate to get there. This is the timeline of how many years' time I'm going to achieve it. Do you think with vision boards, you really have to go into that hard detail to get what you want?
Well, again, it's really that matter of ask, believe, and receive.
Yeah.
And most people don't believe. So if you've got a vision board and you are excited about all the images you're putting on that board, then that doesn't mean that you're going to have any success. So you've got to believe it. And so that's why I think meditation is good, because when you close your eyes, just like I was saying a little earlier about Buddha, he closes his eyes, he's in the other world. That's the world of magic. That's the world of ether. That's the world. You close your eyes and you realize that everything is okay. Just breathe. Everything is okay. And then you can start moving towards those goals. So you do need to take the next steps, and so you can actually believe that you're going to get that house. Yeah, and again, the secret in there, you've got John Assaraf's story. So again, that's what kind of misled people to a certain degree. I believe vision boards can really work for people, and I believe they are a very powerful tool. So again, there's a thumbs up for the secret. And John Assaraf, a wonderful guy, and he's doing a great job, and he's really putting out stuff there to help people improve their lives. So big thumbs up for John. But in the video clip, when you just hear the story about this guy that opened up some boxes with his son when they'd moved home, and he's like, "Dad, what's this?" And he looks at it and he realizes there's a picture on his vision board of the house he's living in today. People think that they can just stick pictures on a board and magically that life will appear. Very unlikely that that's going to happen. And so John had a much deeper connection with his future. John was working towards that life. Now, he may have forgotten that vision board. That was the house he really, really wanted. And in his mindset, he knew one day he would get it. But of course, he put those vision boards away. He'd left them in the loft, whatever his story was. And then home 5 years later, and when he's bringing out all the stuff, boom, he's in that house. But the fact was that he didn't even know at that point. He didn't even remember that's the house that he wanted. Yeah. He just wanted a bigger life. He wanted a bigger lifestyle. So my wife and I, we have a vision board, and we've got it out in near the dining room. As you go into the dining room, we pass it every day, and we stick stuff on there, simple stuff. The next car is on it. The next house could be on it. We actually had the cruise that we were meant to be taking in August, which has got bounced by a year. That's on it. We had pictures of the kids in Disney. All simple stuff as well as big stuff is on there, and ultimately it can work as a reminder of what you want. And the importance of that is that, remember I said a little earlier, it's all about choices. So if you want to move towards those goals every day when you're making a decision, is that going to help us get the kids to Disney? Is that going to help us get that house? Is that going to help us get that car? So the car breaks down. Last year I drove a very nice car, but I dodged a fox and I crashed my car. Well, on the vision board, I already had a 7-seater because I've got 4 kids. And we were tired of taking 2 cars out. So I knew that my next car was going to be a 7-seater. And dodging that fox, there's nothing wrong with the car. Dodging that fox gave me the opportunity to go out and get a new one. What did I do? I went and got myself the dream car. It's black. It's got all the white leather upholstery in it that I wanted. It's 7 seats. And then we were able to go off. We went to Edinburgh Festival last year. That was something my oldest daughter, she's 22 now. She wanted to go to Edinburgh Festival. My oldest son's 22. She's only 18. I have to get that right because she's little. And she's like, "Dad, you got it all wrong." And so, we went to Edinburgh in the car, and it was just, it's great. But all those things happen because I've constantly got my dream life in front of me. So when I'm making choices, when I'm making decisions, whether they come to me faster or later than I'd expected and anticipated, I was able to make the right choices. Yeah. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, completely. And look, it's the bold statement of everything happens for a reason and how it's supposed to. We can help that with absolutely visualization, law of attraction techniques. I wanted to ask you quite bluntly, Paul, Why are we all here? What is it all about? I'm dying to know. Please enlighten me.
There's a lot of great books out there that are about that, and I would never tell you I know all the answers. I would never, ever be like that. We're all growing. I can tell you we're born here and we know we're going to die. Fact. End of story. I have my own beliefs, and I'm quite happy to share those with you. Yes. I will never, ever categorically tell someone that I am right. They're just what I believe. And this is all part of the importance of empathy, and that's what we need a little more of in the world right now. We need to share our own beliefs and absolutely categorically believe in what you believe in, but don't force it on anyone else. So personally, I never get into this when I'm doing my workshops, when I'm doing my retreats. It doesn't matter. So I could be with someone that's religious. And again, I believe that religion is a very much a parallel universe to what I believe in anyway. And all of this personal development becomes spiritual. So I do believe that we are all one. We are all the same. We are all part of the universe. Some people, instead of the term universe, prefer to use the word God. A difference that often happens is that some people think there is a whole stream of thought that we are God. I don't actually believe that we are God, but I believe that each and every one of us has got a piece of God inside us. And we can listen to that if we want. You close your eyes and you can connect with the ether. And ultimately, we're here to create. This is a game to a certain degree. We're playing with it to see what we can do.
I agree.
We're playing with it to see what we can create. I believe we all do come here to create. And unfortunately, in some cases, that's to create pain. In some cases, that's to create some really nasty, vulgar stuff. But at the end of the game, I believe we all go back to the same place. So I don't really believe in a heaven and a hell. If anything, I believe that earth is your heaven and your hell, and you make it what you want it to be. So you can, live in heaven. I try to make heaven on earth. That's really my game while I'm here. Some people won't do that. I do believe that there's levels of life. So whilst we're here, we can really, really grow our lives and improve our lives. And one of the things that I like to teach is personal evolution. So there's a pyramid that I like to share with people. So, and this is, not just my system. This is, a lot of people will believe in this. A lot of people have an understanding for it. But ultimately, you start at the bottom. And when you're at the bottom, that's where you're going to find, I think Maslow's probably the biggest person, if you want to go and read about this in more. It talks about psychological needs, safety needs, love, belonging. You work your way up, you get to self-esteem, and then finally you come to your personal development, and you can actually, crack through and change your life dramatically. The way I like to see that is that when we're at the bottom of that pyramid, we're actually victims. So you've almost got that victim way of thinking. So unfortunately, your life isn't that great. You start down there and you see that everyone is giving you a hard time, oh, I'm working class, oh, I'll never have this, I'll never have that. So that's what I call the victim perspective. You're really controlled by all of the external sources, and you're disempowered, and you blame everyone. That's really what that's all about. So I try to wake people up. Some of them come to me at that level. Not everyone's at that bottom level. If they're at that level, it's easy for me to help them grow, because they've got so much to learn. It's easier to draw them up. The most difficult part for somebody in victim perspective is getting them to have the courage not to blame anyone else, to take responsibility for their own lives. So then they move into the next level, which I like to call the awakening of awareness. So when you move into that level, you start recognizing your personal thought processes. This is the mind mastery. You're not mastering it yet, but you're starting to recognize that you are responsible for what's going on around you. Let me share a Jack Canfield tool. It's E plus R equals O. Mm-hmm. And that's everything that's happening to you, your events, that's the E, events, plus your responses, not reactions. Reactions is when you're using your emotions. But when you're thinking and you're responding rather than reacting, then that equals O, your outcome. So this is your first lesson of empowerment, really. So something happens to you, doesn't matter what it is. The way you respond to that helps you get your outcome. And so I then break that down into a mathematical format. So if you've got a 2 and you want a 10, your response needs to be an 8. If you've already climbed the ladder and you're on a 5 and you want that 10, you need to do a 5. If you're on 9, you're almost got that dream life and everything you want, you know you've got to do this one more thing to get the 10. So if that was, let's say, another example of that, weight loss, it would be an easy one. If you are 14 stone and you know you want to get down to 12 stone, so you've got your E, that's your event, you're a 14, you want to be a 12, what is your response? You've got to lose 2 stone. So you've got to do whatever it takes to do that. Yeah, so E plus R equals O. And that's a big tool at these early stages, awakening awareness. And then from there, once you start to gain power over these tools and go, okay, I can see this stuff's working, then you move into this mindful introspection. You start governing your experience of life, and that's when you really start to use your mind power. And then from there, you work your way up. And you can do this in a lifetime. You can do this. Everyone listening could do this right here, right now. And over the next year could be moving their way up through this pyramid to the final point. So we're on level 4 now, which is your manifest to consciousness. Many of the people listening right now might be manifesting, and that's intentionally creating their life dream. You know, they're making everything that they want come to them. You like to use the word attraction, law of attraction. So you're attracting it to you.
Yes. I think I'm manifesting right now.
I'm a bigger fan. I'm a bigger fan of the law of reflection. That's the way I see it. I think everything around you is a reflection of what you are. So if you're sharing, if you're giving, you know, there's that term, be a go-getter. I was brought up that way, be a go-getter, and you've got to go and get things. Well, that immediately is putting you into a mindset of there's not enough out there. Go get it, and be the best, beat everyone else. But actually, and I was brought up that way, which was why it was so important to me to make as much money as I could. And so I had a certain amount of success at the time of 26. But I've changed dramatically since then. And now I'm not worried about money. It's easy to say, well, of course you're not worried about money. And people have to say, oh, you're so lucky. But it isn't that. I'm reflecting it. I like to give. I'm very generous. I like to be as helpful as I can. And the more I give, the more I get. I really do believe that. I'm not there yet, but I'm certainly moving into this top level, and that top level, that 5th level. And there are people out there that have got this. That is your complete self-actualization. And that's the goal that we're after. And again, there's lots of theories on actualization. You can find lots and lots of books on that, theories on that. But it's a desire to serve others and to be aligned with the universe. And that alignment with the universe, that definitely, there's a great bridge between you and the universe by closing your eyes. And you could use mindfulness as one way. You know, that's about breathing. And I like to take people on a meditative journey. And then meditation for me is the most powerful way. But the minute you close your eyes, the minute you start to listen rather than having all that mind chatter. And a lot of people struggle with meditation. And I don't even like the word, to be honest with you, because most people have already got some sort of idea what meditation is to them. And I think most people misunderstand it. Yeah. So I tell a lot of my clients, don't think of meditation as your way of telling the universe what you want. Don't be closing your eyes and saying, I want this, I want that, I want the other. Really, I want you to listen. It's about being quiet. And of course, things will come into your mind. You let them go. They come into your mind. Just let them go and keep focusing on how peaceful and how quiet, how grateful you are for everything that you've got in your life. And that is a wonderful place to be. And anyone doing it right now could just close their eyes, smile on their face, put a big smile on their face, and realize everything's okay. And to a certain degree, I believe that's why we go to sleep every night. You know, those 8 hours, that's us closing our eyes and going to that other world. And sometimes we have dreams. Sometimes you might even have lucid dreams where you feel like you're living those dreams. Some of those might be nightmares. So your mind goes to another world. It is pretty epic that we have to do that. Nobody sleeps because they fancy it. People sleep because they have to. We have to go back to that other world. It's amazing. So that's the ladder. I believe that your question was, why are we here? I believe we come here to make our way up through that pyramid of personal evolution. I believe that we come here to have as much fun as we can, even though some people will be listening and go, I ain't having any fun. That, unfortunately, is because that's the life you've created. Yes. Change that today. Have as much fun as you can. And then when we're done, we go back to the spiritual world. We go back to being a piece of that energy that we came from. So the easiest way to explain that is if you look at the ocean, you've got lots of waves on the top. Yes. And while we're on Earth, while we've got our eyes open, whilst we're dealing with everything through our senses, our touch, our smell, our mind, while we're looking at things and we're seeing it and we're experiencing it, we're the waves on top of the ocean. But when we close our eyes, it's like taking a dive under the water and you realize it's all beautiful and calm. It can be chucking it down. It can be raining above you. It can be thunderstorms above you. It could be 30-foot swells above you. But when you get down under the ocean, it's all beautiful and calm. So if you've ever snorkeled and gone under the water, if you've ever scuba dived, I love to scuba dive. If you've ever done that, you realize just how true that analogy is. So you've got to close your eyes every now and again and get under the water, pull yourself back together and get back to the top so you can get that fresh air, that breath of air, and then deal with all the waves, deal with whatever the storm is, and then go back under again. Yeah, does that help? Does that answer your question?
Paul, what a fantastic analogy. Like I promise you now, I'm sitting here, legs crossed, and I am just drifting away and just visualizing and just really enjoying. I cannot wait to get out of isolation. Before the show, I said we should have a beer, but no, I just want to go on a mystical journey with you and just meditate with you. I think I much prefer that. Paul, before I end off the show, my listeners are going to be eager to get involved with some of your programs. Please tell us what's coming up and where can they find your work and obviously sign up to yourself.
Yeah, the easiest way is to go to the website. That's engagewithsuccess.com, and you can read all about it there. I'm always happy. Obviously, things are a little different now in lockdown. I'm able to talk to people on a one-to-one basis with Zoom. I haven't been doing any webinars. I know they've become very, very popular right now, but I have plenty of work with my one-to-one clients. But I also like to work in an environment, happy to go to churches and mosques and help people out. So when we get out the other side to this, when things relax and maybe we still have to be mindful of social distancing, I'm really happy to come to environments and share the information. My favorite way to share this is absolutely through retreats. I do 3-day retreats on Rutland Water. All of that information is available on the website. And I'm a fan of coming out and sharing my information for free. So again, once we're out of lockdown, or perhaps if somebody wants to organize like a Zoom call with their company, their group, then I'm happy to get onto Zoom and do things as well. I do a 45-minute talk that's really an introduction to everything, but it gives people a really good understanding. And even in that 45-minute talk, it will give people the opportunity to find out what I'm all about, what the program's all about. And there are lots of tools and tips that they can walk away with. But ultimately, I love it when people decide to do a 12-month program. And the 12-month program is really where you can change your life, because again, a day of information will get you motivated. Even a 3-day retreat gets you motivated. But what I really want to do is get you onto the YB12 program. That's your best 12 months. And that gives you the opportunity to really start to embrace these tools. So the way that works is that I would spend an hour and a half with you. Again, that could be in the flesh. When we're able to do that, that can be on Zoom or Skype or FaceTime, whatever platform people like to use. And then we'll find out what your goals would be over the next 12 months. And then I'll get you working away on it day after day after day after day. And every month, 2 things that happen. We get back together for an hour. 30 minutes of that, we'll be finding out about what happened over your past month and the successes that you've had, and then some of the things that you've not been successful with and how we can improve that. So it's an accountability session. And then I spend 30 minutes giving you more tools and taking you through the program. So you start to work on your road to fulfillment. You start to work on your balanced life. You start to accept reality so that you're not working just to a map, but you can see what really is going on in front of you. We tap into a little bit of NLP, so you start to look at your thoughts and your words so you can really recognize when you're on track, or even though you might be telling people you want to do this and you want to do that, when you're talking to good friends, you're at the pub, you're talking to your partner, you listen to what you're really saying. You step outside of yourself and you're paying attention